tonight we're going to be looking at number 7, and we're probably going to go ahead and go into 8 too, because 7 is the longest chapter of Numbers, but it's a lot of repetition. So, 1 through 3. Now it came to pass, chapter 7 in Numbers 7. Now it came to pass when Moses had finished setting up the tabernacle that he anointed it and consecrated it and all its furnishings and the altar and all its utensils. So he anointed them and consecrated them. Then the leaders of Israel, the heads of their fathers' houses, who were the leaders of the tribes and over those who were numbered, made an offering. And they brought their offering before the Lord, 6 covered carts and 12 oxen, a cart for every 2 of the leaders, and for each one an ox, and they presented them before the tabernacle. Okay? So now we're got to remember we're 2 years out. We're starting our 2nd year. They traveled for a year from Egypt up to Mount Sinai, and they're getting ready to start their 2nd year in this time period. This is when they erected the tabernacle. God gave them the plans back there on Mount Sinai, and Moses had them build all the pieces they needed. So they built everything. They've set it up. They've set all the utensils in it, the brazen altar, the incense, the showbread, the menorah, the Ark of the Covenant, all that they've got set up. And now they're getting ready to consecrate it. Okay? So this is in addition. Now the people already had given all the materials. All right? There's a lot of materials. So remember we went through that back in Numbers, all the poles of acacia wood, all the number of the gold and the silver that they had for all that. So they gave all that. Here is another one that was not asked for. Okay? God accepts it. We'll see here in the next verse. But it doesn't say that God told them to give this offering. So the people had seen all this, and they had been told that, God's going to move around a little bit, move the people around. So they decided to go ahead and give them something to allow them to take these pieces to make the burden a little bit easier. Now you'll remember a couple weeks ago we said it's 19 tons of stuff. I don't think 6 little wagons is going to cut it. But we don't know how big they were. We don't know a whole lot about it. There is only one other word used in the Hebrew. It's called cart, but it's only used one other time in Isaiah 66 and 20. So this is traditionally been understood to be a covered wagon, which would make sense because they wouldn't want the tapestries and all the different, material to get wet, so they'd have it covered up. 4 through 9, Brother Epson.
It says, Then the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Accept these from them, that they may be used in doing the work of the tabernacle of meeting. And you shall give them to the Levites, to every man according to his service. So Moses took the carts and the oxen, and gave them to the Levites. 2 carts and 4 oxen he gave to the sons of Gershon, according to their service. And 4 carts and 8 oxen he gave to the sons of Merari,
Close.
according to their service, under the authority of Ithamar, the son of Aaron the priest. And the sons of Kohath he gave none, because there was a service of holy things which they carried on their shoulders.
Okay, we had 3 people that was still part of the Levites, and that's these 3 here: Gershon, Merari, and Kohath. Okay, there was not priests. These are Levites. Okay, they were the tribe of Levi, but they weren't able to do sacrifices, they weren't able to do this. The last couple of chapters we've been reading, they were set apart to take care of the tabernacle and moving it, setting it up, and do all this. And there are other priestly functions that's going to be done later on, but they're not, Levitical things. They don't do the priestly functions. They don't offer the sacrifices. They don't. Now, they may help them whenever time comes for something. They can ask that, but they were set apart for this particular issue. And here, the sons of Gershon, I guess, they were the ones that took care of all the materials. Remember, they had the roof of it, the tabernacle, and all the coverings that was on it, and all the linen material and all that. So that's why they only got 2 carts, because it wasn't very much. The other guy, Merari, he had to take care of all the poles, and all the sockets that was in the ground, all the boards that was put together, and all the ropes, and all these things. So they got 4 of the carts. Now, if you go ahead and read through here, it says that it's most likely that this did not carry everything. So there were, when they moved, not sometimes, but when they moved, some of the Levites had to carry some stuff. Now, I'm sure it wasn't the boards and it wasn't things like that. But the sockets, okay, the sockets that they put the boards in, the boards was like 5 or 6 inches wide, and it had a silver socket underneath it. It had 2 little indentations that it sat in. So, back when they said that they were going to take care of it, there was every person had something to do. So I don't know if they engraved their name on the back of it or what, but this guy took this socket, this guy took this, and they carried it the whole time. I had a little backpack or something and put it in so they didn't have exactly everything. And they may have had to carry other things too of the linen. Somebody may have carried the ropes. Ropes wear out pretty quick, especially for 40 years. I don't know if they did or they didn't, but normally ropes that we have today, if it's not nylon or something like even nylon, then it tears up. But it tears up pretty quick, 5, 6 years. It don't take very long. And then Kohath, he was the one, his group, took all the furnishings. Okay, the Ark of the Covenant, the menorah, the table of shewbread, the altar of incense, the brazen altar, and they would carry it. They had poles on each one of those. They'd put them up on their shoulders, and they would carry it. Now, it wasn't the same 4 or 6 people, whatever it was. They'd take turns, I'm sure, as they went through. But they had to carry that. That was their job. They didn't get any carts to go for them. And then there was a second giving of gifts. After they gave this, then there was another set of gifts. Sister Iris, read that on top of page 3, 10, and 11.
Now the leaders offered the dedication offering for the altar when it was anointed. So the leaders offered their offering before the altar, for the Lord said to Moses, they shall offer their offering, 1 liter each day, for the dedication of the altar.
Okay, so they're getting ready to go into consecrate this. They've already given this. This is another offering, free will offering that they are giving. Each tribe is going to give, and they're going to give the same thing. Okay? It says when it's anointed, this is what they're going to give. And it's done one day at a time. It gives us this detail because it's important, and they repeat it 12 times. We're going to go through this and you'll see. They repeat it 12 different times, so each one of them, there is only one little item that's different in all the 12 that we'll go through, and we'll talk about it in just a second. But it's giving that tribe their day to be recognized by Moses and to be recognized as the leadership as their offering to God. Okay? And as we go through this, they're giving in a order, a specific order. That order was the same order that was given in how they set the tribes up. You know, they had Judah right in front of the tabernacle. I mean, right outside of the Levite group. The Levite was inside ring, but then Judah was on one side, and then they had another guy on the other side, another guy all on the east side, and they had 3 groups on the north side, 3 groups on the south, and 3 groups on the west. Here again, it's repetition, and it's just a few things, but it's celebrating the tabernacle, celebrating these things, and it becomes a time of celebration, an annual renewal, that this is when we set the tabernacle up. They do this every year to remind ourselves, hey, it's been another year. You know, we've traveled this far and done all these things for, you know, for this particular occasion.
But again, it's sort of, it's like Peter said, God, it shows no respect of person.
Exactly.
Each tribe had to do it.
They all did the same thing. They all did and offered the very same thing. So I'm going to read the bottom of page 4 and the top part of that paragraph, because I'll read the very first line of each one of them going forward. And the one who offered his offering on the first day was Nahshon, the son of Amminadab, from the tribe of Judah. His offering was 1 silver platter, the weight of which was 130 shekels, 1 silver bowl of 70 shekels, according to the shekel of the sanctuary, both of them full of fine flour mixed with oil as a grain offering, 1 gold pan of 10 shekels, full of incense, 1 young bull, 1 ram, 1 male lamb in its first year, as a burnt offering, 1 kid of the goats as a sin offering, and for the sacrifice of peace offerings, 2 oxen, 5 rams, 5 male goats, and 5 male lambs in the first year. This was the offering of Nahshon, the son of Abinadab. Okay? Now, multiply that by 12. That's a lot of cattle, and a lot of sheep, and a lot of, you know, all these things. But this is the offering that was given, and it's one day. Then it says on the second day, Nathaniel, the son of Zubar, leader of Isgard, he presented his. Each one of these are the leaders of their tribes. Okay? Another commentary in Bible reference or Bible version indicates that these are princes of their tribes. The only one that's not and that's different was the one of Judah. Why?
Because of Christ.
Who's the prince of Judah? Christ is, not anybody else. And they knew that back then. I mean, they did. But that's the way it was given to Moses to read. So Issachar, their tribe gives the same thing. Third day, Eli, the son of Helion, leader of the children of Zebulun, presents his offering. Fourth day, Eleazar, the son of Shedar, the leader of the Reuben, presented his offering. Fifth day, Shemuel, the son of Zereshadi, leader of the children of Simeon, presented his offering. Sixth day, Elisaphat, the son of Deuel, leader of the children of Gad, presented an offering. Seventh day, Elishama, the son of Ammihud, leader of the children of Ephraim, presented an offering. Eighth day, Gamaliel, the son of Pedazur, leader of the children of Manasseh, presented an offering. Ninth day, Abidan, the son of Gideon, leader of the children of Benjamin, presented an offering. 10th day, Ahizar, the son of Meshadi, leader of the children of Dan, presented an offering. 11th day, Hagel, the son of Orchri, leader of the children of Asher, presented an offering. On the 12th day, Ahira, the son of Enan, leader of the children of Naphtali, presented an offering. Goes through all that. So that's 12 days in a row. So what are we missing here? 12 days in a row. They're not supposed to work on the seventh day, are they? They did. God told them to do it. So they did it. This surpassed the law that they had for the Sabbath because God told them to do this. Okay? Each day, at least the way it's written, that's the way it was given. So the bottom paragraph of page 8. This was the dedication offering for the altar from the leaders of Israel when it was anointed. 12 silver platters, 12 silver bowls, 12 gold pans. Each silver platter weighed 130 shekels, each bowl 70 shekels. All the silver of the vessels weighed 2,400 shekels according to the shekel of the sanctuary. 12 gold pans full of incense weighed 10 shekels apiece according to the shekel of the sanctuary. All the gold pans were 120 shekels. All the oxen for the burnt offering were 12 young bulls. Rams were 12, the male lambs in their first year 12, with their grain offering. The kids of the goats as a sin offering were 12. And all the oxen for the sacrifice of peace offerings were 24 bulls. The rams, 60. The male goats, 60. The lambs in their first year, 60. This was the dedication offering for the altar after it was anointed. So, that's a lot to offer over that time period. You can go through here and it does tell us a little bit. It says each silver plate weighed about 3 pounds, each bowl about 2 pounds. The shovels that they had, the little golden shovels that they talk about, the little golden cup holders, about 4 ounces. So this term shekel was used throughout Israel, Levant, and Mesopotamia as a standard measure of weight, usually 10 to 13 grams is what we think it was. This was a generous giving. Each tribe offered all of these. Clearly, this was humble giving. By requiring the same gift from every tribe, God made sure no tribe or tribal leader glorified himself through his giving. We must resist the tendency to give in order to be seen of men. Promised land care about God's glory, not their own. Get a little political here, and I was watching X. I don't know. I've found X has been pretty. You'll see a lot of stuff on it. But anyway, this influencer for Trump, gave Trump a Rolex. Like, why would he need a Rolex? And then he gave him a Tesla with his name on it. I mean, with his picture while he was, after he'd gotten shot. They plastered that on there. I'm like, so this guy's got to be a millionaire or something. He's got to have a lot of money. And he's doing it just to gather favor from Trump. So it's just kind of the opposite of what we see here. It's like they're trying to make a name for himself, trying to, get himself in good, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, so it says each offering was recorded the same way, seemingly wasting space in the scriptures. But God's purpose was to draw attention to each tribe's offering, though they were all the same. It's like, why? Why would he waste that space? Well, it's something meaningful to him, and he wants the people to know it's meaningful. It says, even if it's the same or less than many other gifts, God sees and records every gift given in a right heart, even if it's only worth the 2 mites. It goes back to the widow's mite, Mark 12. Every gift from a promised land kind of heart is noticed by God. And the last scripture is, now when Moses went to the tabernacle of meeting to speak with him being God, he heard the voice of one speaking to him from above the mercy seat that was on the ark of the testimony, from between the 2 cherubim. Thus he spoke to him. Now Aaron didn't go in. He's a high priest. Moses went in at this first particular portion. And he heard from God. I don't know if it actually went into the Holy of Holies. It kind of indicates that's where he's listening, because it's coming from the mercy seat. But he spoke to him, and there's some additional things evidently God gave to him then. We will hear that. We don't know verbatim what he told us, but we got 5 books that Moses wrote for us. We say, it's got to be something in there from these. We know some of this was this way and some of it was that way. There is no form or visible manifestation, no angel or being in human likeness representing God. It's only a voice that is heard. The last paragraph is, in this way, by using his voice, God chose to manifest himself during that dispensation till the fullness of the time came, in which the Word was made flesh and dwelt among us. So we see that that's part of it, that the Word means a lot. Sometimes we don't think of it a lot. We just think of it as words. But to God, it means a lot. Okay, we're moving right on to chapter 8. Like I said, it's long scripture at 89 verses, but they're all a lot of repetition. This is lighting of the lamps. The Levites are cleansed for the service. Now, back in Numbers, the priests were cleansed. We went through that. They had to do certain things to be cleansed, we remember. This is now getting ready to light the lights inside the tabernacle and to get the Levites ready for their service, okay? Verse 1, And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto Aaron, and say unto him, When thou lightest the lamps, the 7 lamps shall give light over against the candlestick. And Aaron did so. He lighted the lamps thereof against the candlestick, as the Lord commanded. Now, if you're going from verse 7 to verse 8, here is part of what maybe he told Moses to do, because it said, and the Lord spoke to Moses, just right over said he heard from God. Now it's saying, tell Moses to go in there and light, or tell Aaron to go in there and light the lights. So I'm guessing maybe it wasn't lit at that time when Moses went in and heard God's voice telling him to do that. So he went in and he did that. Now you got to remember, let me get my directions straight. Okay, back of the front of the tabernacle is this way, faced east, west. The light was over here. The lampstand was over here. The showbread was over here. Right in front was the incense, and then the Holy of Holies was right there behind the curtain. So they could see what's going on. They couldn't see in there because there's a curtain with a veil in front of it and the veil behind it. Of course, there's nothing back there except the ark anyway, and it doesn't have any light that we can see. So here, this is a lamp stand. A lot of times we think of it, the menorah that we see today, and it's got one central post, and then you've got 3 posts coming out on each side. So there's 7 candles, or 7 lamps, I'll say it that way. And what that is a holder of oil. And then there's a wick in that oil. We don't know exactly how it was represented. We have some replicas of old oil lamps, and you've probably seen them. They're clay and everything. Well, these were all the gold there. And part of Aaron's job, and part of the job of the Levites the priests after Aaron, the high priest, make sure, not just the high priest, I guess other priests came in, but every day they had to refill the oil. They had to trim the wicks, they had to refill the oil, they had to check on the showbread. The showbread, every week, they changed the showbread out, so that had to be done. So this was some of the things that is part of it, and getting ready for the leading up of the Levites, the Levitical cleansing. So evidently they could arrange this push it to where the light goes towards the showbread so they could see. It may have had like part of the gold went up behind it, like a little mirror, to shine out for there. We don't know. The lamps burned a specially made olive oil, and that needed to be continually filled to provide constant light. It says a candlestick or a lamp without oil is of no use. Oil not burning is of no use. So a church or society of a religious people without the influence of the Holy Ghost, they're dead while they have a name to live. So if there's no oil there, there's no spirit. Again, in Revelation, it shows us the lampstands that John saw, and they represented the churches. As you go back through that, see that they are illuminating heaven. That the lampstands on earth are illuminating. It's not anything that the light is from them. The light is from the lampstand, and that's given by God. Okay? And it tells us that it was arranged and focused, so most of the illumination was over towards the showbread and the altar of incense, so they could see those things. Numbers 8 and 4. Number 4, Brother Everson.
And this is the work of the candlestick, was of beaten gold, unto the shaft thereof, unto the flowers thereof, was beaten work, according unto the pattern which the Lord had shewed Moses. So he made the candlestick.
Now we don't know exactly how it looked. They do have today over there in Israel. We was out at a food court, if you want to say it that way, open air food court, and right in the middle of it, kind of on a platform, was a big menorah, big menorah. It had plexiglass all around it. So I don't know if that's what it's going to look like exactly. You go back to Numbers, and it tells us how it is. There's central shaft, like it says here, and then there's a knob, and pomegranate, leaves, and all these things. And all of this was of beaten gold. What does he think that means? This was solid gold, and they beat it to a pulp, if you're going to say, beat it into what shape that they wanted it to make. That's amazing. Yeah, that lampstand had to be heavy to hold that. I mean, supposedly it's not hollow or anything. It's solid gold. And the beating in it says here, to show ministers they must beat their brains to beat out the sense of the scriptures. I thought that was kind of cute. As the fowl beats the shell to get out the fish with great vehemency. So we have to, it's something, a lot of times we say we want to study the Word of God. We've got to study. I mean, that's part of it. We've got to beat it into our minds, actually. And it talks about the pattern that was given by Moses. So he had a pattern already. I mean, God gave him a pattern for that. And that's the way that particular menorah. Now, they claim they already have one ready to go for the next temple. I don't know exactly how it looks like. Maybe it's that one that's out there on the platform in Jerusalem. I don't know. But I wouldn't think they'd leave it outside like if it's solid gold. Anyway. 5 through 7, Iris.
And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Take the Levites from among the children of Israel, and cleanse them. And thus shalt thou do unto them. To cleanse them, sprinkle water of purifying upon them, and let them shave all their flesh, and let them wash their clothes, and so make themselves clean.
Okay. Now the priests had to take a bath, basically. Here, the Levites, they just got sprinkled. Now it says the purification, the pure water of purifying upon them. That's the water that has the ashes of the red heifer on that they burned in the tabernacle when they first started. Okay? That's the purifying water that they have to go through that process. That's actually today, they're waiting to find a red heifer, and it can't have more than like 11 white hairs or 11 other hairs other than white, other than red. And then once they find it and it reaches that age, 2 years, I think, it has to be 2 years old or 3 years old, then they can offer it for a sacrifice. A lot of people thought this past Easter, when Passover was going on, that they were going to offer that heifer right then, but I don't think it was quite ready enough for them. But they, I wouldn't have thought they could, but that's what it said, that it wasn't quite ready yet for them for some reason. But that's what they have to do. They have to burn that red heifer, they get their ashes, then they put it in the water. The water is then purified, and then that water is sprinkled upon, first the priests, they bathed in it, and now the Levites get it and they sprinkle on them. This may be where they get the sprinkling in like some of the religions that we have today. For baptism, they sprinkle upon them. Well, the priests themselves, they had to be baptized. I mean, they went under. They had to be cleansed. This cleansing with water is also part of the new covenant, as described in Ezekiel. Then I will sprinkle clean water on you, and you shall be clean. They also had to shave themselves. Shave the body was part of symbol of their purification. We read last week, whenever the Nazarites, or maybe 2 weeks ago, whenever the Nazarites, when they cut their hair, then they had to shave all their hair off and start all over again. Okay, and let it grow. They wasn't supposed to cut their hair at all, but once the vow was over or it got broken or something like that, they had to shave all their hair. Well, here again, it's just showing the purification. And it says newborn babies are relatively free from hair, and this is also corresponds with the shaving of the Levites and their dedication to God. So it's to take us back to almost that infancy. It says, since Semitic men were characterized generally in the ancient world by wearing beards and ample bodily hair, shaving these men's bodies must have been regarded as a remarkable act of devotion to God. Sure glad they didn't have to wax. Okay, now they're going through the dedication, 8 through 15. Then let them take a young bullock with his meat offering, even fine flour mingled with oil, and another young bullock shalt thou take for a sin offering. And thou shalt bring the Levites before the tabernacle of the congregation, and thou shalt gather the whole assembly of the children of Israel together, and thou shalt bring the Levites before the Lord, and the children of Israel shall put their hands upon the Levites. And Aaron shall offer the Levites before the Lord for an offering of the children of Israel, that they may execute the service of the Lord. And the Levites shall lay their hands upon the heads of the bullocks, and thou shalt offer the one for a sin offering, and the other for a burnt offering unto the Lord, to make an atonement for the Levites. And thou shalt set the Levites before Aaron and before his sons, and offer them for an offering unto the Lord. Thou shalt separate the Levites from among the children of Israel, and the Levites shall be mine. And after that shall the Levites go in to do the service of the tabernacle of the congregation, and thou shalt cleanse them and offer them for an offering. So here we see a little bit that the children of Israel would lay their hands upon the Levites, and then the Levites themselves would then go lay their hands upon the cattle, the offerings that was being made. So there was I think they said 3,000 or something like that, Levites. So that took a little while to go through all. Now, not so much the people laying their hands on the Levites, because there was a lot more people than Levites, but then the Levites going by and each one of them touching those cattle, laying their hands. And that's again signifying that their sins transferred from the people to the Levites to the calves, to the two the sin offering and the burnt offering that they're getting ready to offer. And they only offer, in this particular case, they only offer two for all the Levites. Each one of them didn't have to have a Levite, an offering like this. Just
when you read the chapter books, you realize why it took 40 years. No.
Took a long time, yeah. Right.
They're always, they're busy. Busy.
They are.
You don't do this stuff in a matter of a few minutes.
No. And once they get, and that's a little bit what I was thinking as this was done right then, but as each new Levite came up, or each new, I'm sure it had to be done again. You'd think, or once a year or something like that, they had to go through this process because they had to replenish the Levites, and we'll see that in a minute. We talked about it already in previous lessons, but so they offered these up, and it also says a wave offering. They lay their hands upon them, and that's making like a wave offering, where the priest would make a wave offering with the sacrifice for the person. Well, that's what they were saying here. This normal wave offering presented something to God, such as a portion of meat or bread, with a motion that communicated the idea, this is yours, God. In this consecration of the Levites, the children of Israel came before God and essentially said, these Levites belong to you, Lord. And some people say that may have been some symbolic moving of the priest during this too, or something like that. We don't know exactly what it was, but it was the same significance or same way that they were offered as these offerings were offered here, that God had told us back in Numbers how that they should do that, or told them how they should do it. And 16 through 19, Brother Everson.
For they are wholly given unto me from among the children of Israel. Instead of such as an open, very every womb, even instead of the firstborn of all the children of Israel, have I taken them unto me. For all the firstborn of the children of Israel are mine, both man and beast. On the day that I smote every firstborn in the land of Egypt, I sanctified them for myself. And I have taken the Levites for all the firstborn of the children of Israel, and I have given the Levites as a gift to Aaron and to his sons from among the children of Israel, to do the service of the children of Israel in the tabernacle of the congregation, and to make an atonement for the children of Israel, that there is no plague among the children of Israel when the children of Israel come nigh unto the sanctuary.
Okay. So this is going back all the way to when they left Egypt, and the firstborn of the Egyptians perished because they didn't put the Passover blood on them. These firstborn were for God. The Hebrews actually, it was set aside, the firstborn were set aside for God of every tribe. Now it's saying that I'm going to change that. God says, because of that, I haven't had you do that, because this would not be a very good way of keeping I won't say the rules, but keeping track of everything. Every tribe has their own little group. I'm going to take this one group, the tribe of Levi, all the people that's there, that's who I'm going to call the firstborn. And we go back in the very first part of Numbers, it talked about the census, and there was about the same number. They had to maybe a little bit over. They had to make up a difference of. But this is what God said, this is going to be these Levites are set aside for my service. And in the latter portion of this chapter, it talks about their service is the work that they are going to do for me. And that work, the word that they use, is like military service. It would mean the same thing as the warriors that's out there in the other 11 tribes. They're going to be taking care of the business of keeping the people safe. Well, the Levites are there to protect the tabernacle and protect anybody from coming up. They are soldiering or doing their work, protecting the tabernacle, not allowing anybody to come before it that shouldn't be. Okay? So that's what, it's just reiterating that God said this back in Numbers already, and then kind of when we talked about it in Leviticus and now in Numbers too, also. Page 6, 20 through 22, Iris.
And Moses and Aaron and all the congregation of the children of Israel did to the Levites according unto all that the Lord commanded Moses concerning the Levites. So did the children of Israel unto them, and the Levites were purified, and they washed their clothes, and Aaron offered them as an offering before the Lord. And Aaron made an atonement for them to cleanse them. And after that went the Levites in to do their service in the tabernacle of the congregation before Aaron and before his sons, as the Lord had commanded Moses concerning the Levites, so did they unto them.
Okay, so we're just finishing up the service. He went through the consecration and did all that they had to, and then they entered into their service. They had to go through. Now, the priests had a lot more to do, a lot more priestly functions to do. They had special clothing to wear. They couldn't take off some clothes, put on other clothes to go to the Holy of Holies, do all these different things. The Levites didn't have quite that strict of, we don't see it at least. It's not told us that. So there is a little bit of difference between the priests and the Levites as you go through this. And I didn't get it, but back in the last part, in the last scriptures, it indicates that there would be a plague put upon mankind, talking about the firstborn, that plague would break out if they would have not have the Levites be God's firstborn. If the firstborns of each one of the tribes, there would have been some confusion somewhere along the way. Now you've got one person that's over them. Aaron is over the total Levites, and each one of his kids is in charge of parts of that. Okay, 23 through 26. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, This is it that belongeth unto the Levites. From 20 and 5 years old upward they shall go in to wait upon the service of the tabernacle of the congregation. And from the age of 50 years they shall cease waiting upon the service thereof, and shall serve no more, but shall minister with their brethren in the tabernacle of the congregation, to keep the charge, and shall do no service. Thus shalt thou do unto the Levites, touching their charge. So this is their job. They start their job, we talked about this in previous lessons. They enter into apprenticeship at 25. For 5 years, they learn what their portion is going to be. It may be according to a particular family or however they broke it up. You're in charge of the ram's skin, you're in charge of the ropes, you're in charge of this, you're in charge of that. Don't know exactly what it is, but they started learning this from that time period on. When they turned 30, then it was their time to actually carry out, when they had to move from this. Now, we've got to think that it happened during this 40 years they traveled around, but it was more than just 40 years they had tabernacle. And it was until Solomon that this tabernacle existed. When he finally built the temple, the first temple, Solomon did. David started gathering all the materials. So that's over 1,000 years. So it moved different times during this time period, of course, but then other times too. It moved into its final resting place before David built the temple, or Solomon actually. So we see that they were 30 years, they had a working age, 20 years, from 30 to 50. After they were 50, they were the ones that were training the 25-year-olds, teaching them what to do and where to go and how to do it, all these different things. They wasn't actually supposed to lift and carry the boards over to here. And the one group wasn't supposed to carry the showbread and all the different ark and all that. They just had to tell them, no, you're doing that wrong. You need to do this. You need this, get that. So they helped them in whatever they could do. So they still were part of the priestly, the Levite rank, but they weren't actually to do any of the service, to help take the tent down, take the tabernacle down, and put it back. And that's all that there is for this lesson. So I appreciate everybody coming out.